It's funny how quickly life can change. One minute, I was living in the city, chasing my dreams as an aspiring photographer, and the next, I was standing at the threshold of an old cattle ranch I didn't know existed until my uncle's passing. The property in Arizona, a sprawling land surrounded by endless desert and thick sagebrush, was my inheritance. I wasn't sure why my uncle had left it to me. I barely knew the man. We'd been distant for years, and I couldn't remember the last time I'd visited. His passing had been sudden, and everything felt so disconnected, like the death itself was part of some forgotten story. Still, I couldn't turn down the inheritance. The ranch could be worth something, right? And besides, Aaron, my childhood friend, my confidant, was the only person who would understand. Together, we could figure out. Arriving at the ranch was an experience I'll never forget. The silence was overwhelming. There was no buzz of insects, no hum of life, just emptiness. The wind, always blowing to the sagebrush, felt like a warning, a reminder of how alone we were out there. The place looked like it hadn't seen a living soul in decades. The barn was falling apart, and the house, once white, had faded to a dull gray. Aaron wasn't fazed by it. He was used to the desert's emptiness, having grown up near it. "It's just a little dusty," he said, though I could see the unease in his eyes. We spent our days cleaning and trying to make the house livable, but the nights were different. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching us. It started small. I would hear footsteps in the hall when I was alone, a shadow out of the corner of my eye. At first, I chalked it up to the isolation. Being out there made everything feel like an overactive imagination. But then, things got worse. I found animal hides scattered near the barn. At first, I thought maybe they were from animals that had wandered too close, but something about them felt wrong. The hides were too well preserved, as if they'd been treated with care, not left to rot in the sun. As I looked closer, I noticed the bones, curved and shaped unnaturally. There were markings on the hides that seemed to form patterns, like a language I couldn't understand. Aaron thought I was overreacting. It's an old ranch. Maybe some wildlife got trapped, or he trailed off. Seeing the look on my face, I wasn't convinced, but I couldn't explain why. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Aaron caught sight of something that chilled him to the bone. We were standing on the porch, watching the orange sky. He froze, his face pale. "Maria, look." I followed his gaze, and my stomach sank. A figure was standing in the distance, barely visible against the desert backdrop. It was humanoid, but not quite human. Its limbs were too long, its shape distorted. It wore something, no, someone else's skin. The figure stood perfectly still, watching us. I couldn't breathe. Aaron, ever the skeptic, reached for his phone, but when he looked back, the figure was gone. The desert was once again silent, and I was left questioning my sanity. That night, the strange occurrences escalated. I woke to a sound I'll never forget, a scraping like nails on the walls. It started softly but grew louder, echoing through the house. My heart raced as I sat up in bed, listening to the sounds get closer. I dared not move. I told myself it was the wind. But then, the whispering started. A language I didn't recognize, but I understood every word. It was in Navajo. The voices seemed to be calling me. Go, leave, go, leave. I was too terrified to move. The whispers grew louder, circling me. My mind was screaming, but my body couldn't react. When it stopped, I didn't dare sleep. I stayed awake, eyes darting around the room. The next day, the unease only deepened. A voicemail came through on my phone. I didn't recognize the number. I almost didn't listen, but something in my gut told me I should. The moment I pressed play, I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. The voice was guttural, a low growl that rattled my bones. This is our land. Leave or be one of us. The sound of heavy breathing followed, then a faint clicking like teeth grinding. It felt like it was coming from inside the house, from right behind me. My hands trembled as I hung up. Things went from strange to terrifying when I found the Polaroids. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but then, day after day, new photos appeared, left in strange places. on the kitchen counter, on my pillow, tucked into the pages of a book I hadn't touched in weeks. They were of me, sleeping, from within the house. No one had been in my room, and yet there they were, Polaroids of me in my most vulnerable state, taken from the corner of my room, from just outside my door. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat up in bed, heart racing, staring at the Polaroids scattered on my nightstand. I knew I wasn't alone. I knew something was watching me. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. It wasn't just the land. It was something else. Something that wanted me to leave. And it wasn't going to stop until I did. Then Aaron went missing. I woke to find the side of the bed empty, the sheets twisted, as if he had gotten up in a hurry. At first, I thought he was just outside, maybe trying to clear his head. But as the hours passed, my worry turned into panic. I searched the house, the barn, every inch of property, calling his name. The tracks were hard to follow, but eventually I found them, bloody tracks leading from a barn. I followed them, my heart pounding in my chest, the air thick with the smell of something decaying. The barn loomed ahead, dark and menacing, as if it had come alive. Inside, I found Aaron, but it wasn't him. Not really. His body lay motionless on the cold floor, draped in animal skin. The skin was stitched together haphazardly, the seams forming grotesque patterns. His eyes were wide open, but they weren't his eyes anymore. They were empty, soulless, hollow. And then I heard it. The voice. Aaron's voice. But it wasn't him. It was wrong. It was a mockery, a distorted version of the man I once knew. Maria, help me, please. I'm still here. I ran. I didn't know where I was going, but I had to get away. As I fled, the world seemed to close in around me. The ranch was on fire when I looked back, the flames licking at the night sky. The wind carried the smoke, and for a moment, I thought I saw a shadow in the flames, a figure wearing stitched animal skin, watching. I never went back. The ranch was nothing but ashes the next day, and I never spoke of what I saw. I couldn't bear to relive it. But I know deep in my bones that something ancient lives out there. It's a land of vengeance, a land that waits for those foolish enough to step onto it. And I was foolish. I didn't expect the desert to be so quiet. The dry air clung to my skin like a second layer, thick with heat even as the sun set. I had been trying to forget about the discomfort of the day, the endless miles of road, the sunburns on our shoulders, and the growing sense that we were slipping away from the world as we drove deeper into Arizona. Ryan and I had been on the road for hours, chasing the golden hour light for my photography project, when we realized we were low on gas. The nearest station on the map was miles away, but we pressed on, half hoping we'd make it. Finally, we crested a small hill and saw the faint, flickering lights of an abandoned gas station in the distance. As we pulled up the cracked asphalt and rusted pumps, a chill crept up my spine. Should we just head back to the last town? Ryan asked, squinting at the station. No, I'm already here, I replied, tapping my fingers against the steering wheel. We're running on fumes. Let's fill up. He gave me a skeptical look, but shrugged. Ryan got out, leaving the door open behind him, and approached the pump, which was an old hand-crank machine. I stayed in the car for a moment, just to observe. The gas station looked abandoned, decades old, with peeling paint and a sign that was barely visible under the moonlight. But the sense of isolation felt different, more profound than the usual deserted places we had come across. I glanced at my phone. No signal. Of course. I couldn't even check to see if there was another station nearby. The silence outside was thick, almost suffocating. Hey, Beth. Ryan's voice broke through my thoughts, a little too loud in the stillness. The pump's not working. Maybe it's out of service, I said, not wanting to get out of the car. Come back inside. But then I noticed something odd. Scratch marks. They were around the entrance, faint but unmistakable, like something had been clawing at the door. Curiosity piqued. I stepped out of the car and walked cautiously toward the station's entrance. The smell hit me then, musky, like wet fur and decay, a sharp contrast to the dry desert air. It made my stomach turn, but I couldn't stop myself from pushing through the door. Inside, it looked even worse. Dust covered every surface, and the shelves were empty. There was no sign of life, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. I moved deeper into the dimly lit station, taking in the strange vibe of the place. That's when I saw it, a Polaroid photo lying face up on the counter. It was of me. I stared at it, my heart skipping a beat. It was a picture I had never taken, a candid shot of me standing by the car just a few hours earlier. My clothes were the same, my hair a bit windblown, but the expression on my face was different. It was like I was staring at a stranger, familiar yet foreign, eyes wide and wild, caught in a moment I didn't remember. Shaking, I reached for the photo, but the moment my fingers brushed it, a whisper slithered into my ear. So soft, I almost didn't hear it first. You shouldn't wander alone in my home. My blood turned to ice. I whirled around, expecting to see someone, but the room was empty. Nothing moved, yet the whisper lingered in the air, heavy and wrong. I grabbed the photo and backed toward the door, trying to control my breathing, but something was off. My pulse hammered in my ears, and the suffocating silence was no longer peaceful. It was ominous. I reached the doorway and froze. Ryan stood outside, but something was wrong. His back was turned and his body was stiff, as if he were waiting for me. But the moonlight hit his face, and I noticed his eyes were wrong. They were pitch black, voids that swallowed up all light. "Beth!" The voice that came from his mouth was unmistakably mine. I froze, my blood running cold. He was mimicking me. My voice, my tone, even the slight tremor that I sometimes had when I was anxious. "Beth?" he repeated, this time louder, the words stretching into something grotesque. "Help me." My breath caught in my throat. This was not Ryan. This thing, whatever it was wearing his face. I should have turned and run then, but fear rooted me in place. It whispered again in my voice. "Help me? Please, I need you." I didn't think. I ran. I bolted to the desert, feet pounding against the rough, jagged earth, not stopping for anything. The sound of Ryan's distorted voice followed me, becoming more and more insistent with each step. "Beth, don't leave me." It was as though he was getting closer, but I couldn't look back. The sound of my own name felt like a knife in my gut, ripping at me. I stumbled across the desert floor, panting, nearly tripping over rocks, and for a moment, I thought maybe I was hallucinating. Maybe this was all in my head. Maybe the heat was too much. But no, the voice was too real, too wrong. I didn't stop running, not until I hit the highway. The lights of a truck grew bigger in the distance, and I flagged it down with frantic gestures. The trucker slammed on his brakes, his face just as bewildered as he pulled over. "What the hell's wrong with you, lady?" he asked, his voice low and gruff. I couldn't even answer, too out of breath to speak. I was shaking, my body a mass of terror and exhaustion, but I got into the cab without hesitation. The trucker didn't ask me anything more as he sped off into the night, leaving the abandoned gas station and whatever had been lurking there behind us. The next morning, when they found Ryan, it was too late. They found his body miles away from where I'd left him, his skin peeled from his bones, like someone had flayed him alive. The scene was too grisly to even comprehend, and I still don't understand it. But I can't shake the image of the Polaroid. I kept it. I couldn't bring myself to throw it away. But when I looked at it again, something was different. Ryan wasn't in the photo anymore. Instead, there was someone standing next to me, someone who looked just like me, someone with black eyes. That's when I realized the thing that had taken his body was not only hunting me, it had taken everything from me, even my identity. Now, I don't know who to trust, but I know one thing. The desert hides things that want to wear our skins, and once they get what they want, they won't stop until they have everything.